So with that, we come to the final segment of this conclave. We just heard our eminent panel members talking about the commercial real estate of southern cities. Now let's bring to you Unravelling of Marketing Mystery, a very interesting conversation on future trends for real estate. So let me introduce our session. The session will be moderated by Mr. Farook Mahmood, Chairman and Managing Director, Silverline Group, and Chairman Emeritus and Founder President, FIABCI-India. Mr. Farook Mahmood has been in the real estate business for over 43 years and was the World President FIABCI that represents 70 countries covering all 4 verticals of real estate. He is fellow RICS, President Emeritus and past President, Bangalore Realtors Association, Founder President and Vice Chairman of NAR India and past Chairman ICREA USA. I welcome our moderator of the session. And now let me also welcome our expert speakers in an alphabetical order. Let me introduce Anirban Ghosh, Vice President, Sales and Marketing at Shapoorji Pallonji Real Estate, an astute professional with 16+ years of qualitative experience in sales and marketing business development. His expertise lies in exploring and developing new markets, dealers, accelerating growth, and achieving desired sales goals. He is adept at analyzing market trends to provide critical inputs for business development initiatives and formulation of selling and marketing strategies. Our next eminent panel member is Mr. Arun Anand, founder, Flow Realty. Arun Anand leads Flow Realty, which is India's first B2B real estate as a service enterprise. He has a strong experience in setting up and running various functions of marketing, such as product marketing, sales, brand management, pricing, profitability management, media planning, pre-sales, consumer research, and market intelligence. He has cross-functional and cross-industrial experience from BFSI to IT to real estate and from marketing to finance to general management. Our next eminent panel member is Mr. Cyriac Joseph, Senior Vice President and Head Marketing and PR and Corporate Communication, as well as Brand Strategist for Vaishnavi Group. A veteran in the real estate industry in South India with over 25 years of experience, Cyriac currently spearheads the marketing, PR, and corporate communication functions at Vaishnavi Group. He brings rich experience in handling large sales and marketing teams and has served in senior positions with renowned organizations. Our next panel member, let me introduce Mr. Govind, co-founder and CEO, Insomniacs. With over 10 years of experience in real estate consulting to the leading real estate brands across India, Govind has specifically focused on helping realtors focus on efficiency and drive better ROI. He has handled more than 280 project launches and has helped brands optimize their media costs by focusing on digital media. Our next and final member is Ms. Monica Matthias, Director of Hoysala Projects. During her decade-long association with Hoysala Projects, Monica has been instrumental in aiding the company to grow 17 times. She succeeded in making the largest value asset shift into the company, initiating an influx of assets as a result. Her hands-on involvement in the company exposed her to a range of functions, enabling her to successfully increase market access, chart out sales equations, and revenue for the company. So this was our eminent panel for this discussion, and let me now hand it over to our moderator, Mr. Farook Mahmood.
Thank you, Sapna, for the wonderful introduction and covering everybody's session that I heard earlier. Wonderful sessions that you've had, and I welcome all the speakers of this evening's panel discussion. I think each one of you is a master in your own fields, and I'm not going to go in alphabetical order. I start with the lady, she being the sole lady on the panel. I start with Monica, and then we move along. Monica, from your perspective, what changes are expected in the behavior of both the buyer and the seller going forward?
Good evening, Farook. A very warm evening.
I think Monica's having problems.
Good evening, Farook. Can you hear me?
We can hear you, Monica.
Yeah.
A very warm good evening to Farook and the rest of the panelists. I'm really looking forward to the next 60 minutes as we talk about marketing and the challenges that we face in marketing in today's real estate scenario. Thank you, Farook. I'm going to start off by quickly jumping into the question that you had asked about. we see changes in both the buyers and sellers in the real estate market. In my head, I would broadly break this down into two types of changes. One that COVID has led, the other that independent of COVID, what technology is bringing to the market today. I think, of course, we all agree that without COVID, the acceleration of technology in real estate would have been slower, but however, it's here and it's here to stay. In terms of COVID-led changes, I think all of us can agree that there is a demand from the market for more livable space. I remember about 3-4 years ago when I was designing projects, we would wonder whether we should cut down a balcony, whether we should cut down some extra space and include it in the room square foot area. That has completely changed. When I talk to customers, when my customer relation people talk, what we keep hearing about is people wanting more livable space, and that includes green spaces. The other change that I see as young people come back, as reverse migration starts, and as people come back into Bangalore, Chennai, Hyderabad, the bigger cities, I'm told that there will be a rise of alternative solutions to security deposits. A lot of people have collected their deposits, gone back into town, into their smaller towns. When they come back, we know that a lot of market development will happen in that space. In the last 1 month, I've spoken to 2 different startups where the young founders are both independently, separately working on solutions as to how to reduce what is currently a 10-month security deposit requirement in Bangalore to contract it to a far shorter period. This is despite the Model Tenancy Act, which anyway independently asks for shorter deposits. The other thing that I see is that designs of buildings itself, Farook, will change. Architects, a lot of UX people now, when I sit and discuss with them, we see that buildings will start functioning like silos. Where, for example, a house where a living room and a dining and a bedroom and a kitchen, we used to plot it separately. I think now houses, especially larger format houses, 3-bedroom and above, we will be able to design for the future, which means we will be able to design a house with a central silo-like spine, out of which there could be a work area, there could be an entertainment area. These will have to be separated. Technology, of course, will help us in giving better acoustics, better sound filtration systems, better air quality. People have seen what it is to work out of home, and for those with young families, with long commutes, may choose to continue staying from home if given the choice. We need to design houses for these people. So Farouk, these are some of the bigger changes that I see in the residential workspace.
Thank you, Monica. Now move to Anirban. Anirban, your views on the same question, please.
Hi, good evening, everyone. I think great discussion. I think I was part of a couple of other discussions in the what happening with the morning, afternoon actually is really great. So I think Monica has told most of the points, the important point. I totally agree with Monica. I think being on the other side of the developer, we have experienced the same thing. We are seeing the very important thing which you're looking at. The customers are looking at buying a near completion apartment because people have started understanding the importance of moving into their houses as early as possible from a rented house or maybe individual houses, something like that. Also, it's important people are looking at moving to gated community. I think pandemic has taught all of us how important stay in a gated community where you have all the facilities available, including the security. I think another important point, as a Shapoorji, as a company of experience, we launch 2 towers during the middle of pandemic. And I had a requirement, not recommend, it's actually government statutory requirement where I need to build 1-bedroom apartment. And I have seen people coming and asking me, can you combine 1 and 2 bedroom? Can you give me a bigger one? So I think as Monica told, the size of the apartment, the customers emerged to eager to buy the bigger size apartment has increased in pandemic because people work from home or maybe people want to stay back more time in home. They want to spend time at home because they can walk out of the home. That has been increased, and that has been, I have witnessed being in the middle of the pandemic in our Bangalore, our project, that has been taken a very good shape, and we are able to sell a lot of Jodi apartment, which is the big trend in Mumbai, that have been able to replicate in Bangalore, and we are able to move out quite huge stock on that particular segment. I think another important point, what I feel is that it's like as Monica told, like people are looking at buying a house where they have the daily help can stay with them. That's an important thing. I think going forward, the developers are going to think about it, which was there earlier. I'm talking about 10, 15 years back. They used to have a helper which was moved out because of the size of the apartment or maybe the budget. But people again started looking at getting those back because they understand that in pandemic, if I have a helper with me who can help, or he or she can help us, that's gonna be another changing pattern in the developer side.
Yes.
Thank you, Anirban. Cyriac, your point of view, sir.
Thank you, Farook. Good evening, all. Very happy to be on this panel discussing one of my favorite topics with such a distinguished panel. Session being moderated by you, Farook, makes it even better for me. Specifically coming to the question that you had put forward, I'm going to sort of quickly break this up into three different aspects from my perspective. One, there is this whole thing about compact homes versus spacious homes. COVID, the one important thing that it probably did was that pre-COVID, we had sort of moved a little towards compact, towards affordable and so on. However, in the aftermath of COVID, I'm actually seeing customer preferences which seem to be moving more towards relatively spacious homes, which would suit their work from home lifestyle. That is number one. Number two is, I think there's been a small but very perceptible move towards online home buying. Right? Because real estate will continue to be an asset that will be a huge family decision in India. And you would always want to see the property before purchasing. Now, this whole lockdown scenario, a couple of lockdown scenarios has encouraged, online home purchases. Now, serious buyers, investors, quite comfortable putting down a token payment on their dream property to cash in on a good price or a good deal. Right. And I think many developers have today provided an option where you can actually book online and post viewing the property, decide if you want to proceed, right, with the rest of the transaction. Obviously, all this needs to happen within a specified period. This trend, I think, is beginning to gain traction, will find more and more favor as we go along. I think people to benefit from this will be the leading real estate developers who have a good track record. They will be the primary recipients. They will be the chief recipients of this shift, which I'm seeing in consumer buying behavior. Number three, I think, which is now becoming probably more and more obvious, is a willingness for the potential home buyer to consider a home in a peripheral area, right? Because now with the work from home concept now being almost fully evolved, right? Buying a home in a peripheral area is definitely on the cards for many home buyers. Owning a home is on the wish list of many. Sometimes the aspect of affordability, putting the money together, funding, financing, and so on, you make you sort of defer the decision. But by deferring the decision till you get all the aspects together, including the required funds, can be an expensive proposition in the long run, right? So in today's time, in the current scenario, I think capitalizing on property options available in peripheral areas is beneficial because, see, one today doesn't need to travel to work on as much a regular basis as before. This trend is also easy on the pockets, right? Relatively easy on the pockets of buyers who are quite very inclined and very willing to buy a home which is far from the work zones, again, relatively speaking, but equipped with all the required amenities, offers more space, gives you a whole lot of options, offers a lot of green space, and so on. Yeah, so Farouk, this would be my take on the question that you just posed.
Thank you, Cyriac. Coming to my next question, the ways traditional modes of sales and marketing will be reinvented to cater to the new normal world. I'd like to start off with Arun.
Good evening, everyone.
Hi, good evening.
Good evening.
Go on, Farook.
Well, I just asked you the question on the traditional models of sales and marketing will be reinvented to cater to the new normal world. What's your view on this, Arun?
So pandemic aside, or pandemic being, I'm not calling the new normal linked to pandemic in any manner, but every single year that we progress in our life is a new normal. Something or the other will come and change the world from what it was to what it will be. So one important aspect that I would like to touch upon in the new normal mode of sales and marketing is like Honda used to have this philosophy, more man and less machine. So it's about more communication, but less calls, less number of calls, and less number of meetings. So how does it happen? You communicate more, but you are talking less and you are meeting less. So this is the era of something called, which I call as mass personalization. Today, a lot of technology companies are coming up with innovative products where they are kind of tagging or kind of tagging along with the customer. Somebody may check one property in Magic Bricks, and then he might go and Google something else. Then he might go and click something else on Facebook. A lot of companies are these days scanning the people behavior on the net and really understanding the psychology behind it. This person wants in Whitefield or this person wants in Delhi. Is he looking at investment or is he looking at end use? So by the search patterns, by the kind of behavioral patterns that they explicit, the AI today is able to find out that these two three things could be the real things that he's looking at. He might be inquiring 10 different projects, but AI gives you a way to prioritize what he's actually looking for, what is the psyche behind his behavior, and are enabling us with tools that help us sharp shoot. Okay, this is the psyche of this customer who's sitting in front of me. If I talk to him in this language, if I talk to him this kind of products, he is likely to buy more. So this is an era of mass communicate, mass personalization that is happening. Second thing is, these days I see deals happening without a single phone call. Even with a tool as simple as WhatsApp, you can communicate. Powerful tools like WhatsApp, you can communicate with the customer in great depths without even having a single phone call. You are sending a floor plan, customer is asking two queries, you are responding on the WhatsApp on what his queries are, then he's asking for a cost sheet. Negotiation happens on WhatsApp and closure happens on WhatsApp. So there is a lot of interesting communication happening. Who knows, tomorrow on the other side of the WhatsApp, there could be a bot who might be negotiating with you, and it needn't be a person who's sitting and taking decisions. So this is the one most important pattern that I am seeing in the traditional how things are changing in the mode of sales and marketing.
Thank you, Arun. And may I request Monica to take over from there and address the issue that.
Yes. Farook, I noticed both Cyriac and Arun said something which I will take off from. Cyriac actually mentioned that now customers are finding it easier and easier to make the purchase decision online, or at least part of that purchase decision online. I completely concur with him. The nearest example, when people in my business, when people in our industry tell me that no, it will take more time, I always refer to the purchase of gold jewelry. Who would have thought 10 years ago that India is a market which is so obsessed with buying gold as ornamental jewelry could actually move to mass buying of coins and then to EFTs, which are a way of financially buying into gold, which itself explains that people's their need to touch and feel a asset like gold has diminished over the years. I know that our Indian household share of EFT consumption on bullion, gold, has increased. Arun spoke about how customers are happy to transact on WhatsApp. I agree with that. And I think a lot of that has to do, at least in Bangalore, with how the tech force itself operates. I have family members in the tech space. I have friends who work in tech companies. I see that they're all getting used to asynchronous modes of communication. We're all used to a time when we would pick up the intercom and we would talk to people. Today, everybody's on Slack or Trello, expects 10-15 minutes lag before a person comes back, even on a messaging system. So that desperation to have a sales guy sit in front of you, answer your questions, is psychologically getting turned around, not necessarily by the real estate industry, but just how other industries are starting to perform with their work and their business living. So I agree with both of these points. And the reason I bring it up is because I think both of these parameters will impact our traditional sales and marketing channel for real estate companies. Having said this, I also want to talk about 5-6 years ago. I know I spent a lot of time and energy in our business looking for a small scale ERP business, ERP setup which would work for us. I remember thinking that, oh, CRM is a standalone function. Let it work like that. Those days are gone. I feel that our CRM solutions for sales and marketing will become very tech centric. Sales CRM will get integrated into ERP systems in mid and large size companies. That's something that I see. I also see that both AR and video usage will go up extensively. So I know that there are large real estate companies in the world that have their own smartphone apps. We are perhaps, and today in India, we see large real estate broking websites which have their own apps. We find that a very good place because we consider them as aggregators. We think of them as places where we can see multi properties with multi properties with multi sellers. They could be individual sellers as well. But imagine all of us as developers being able to use a smartphone app of our own, plus on third-party websites where we could give them a lot of AR, VR, rich visual, contextual information about the property that they are interested in. I foresee many people keeping a couple of these apps on their phone for 6 months, 1 year, whatever their purchase, buying decision cycle is, and being comfortable with that because they will enjoy the richness of the content that they get. I see this as another differentiator in the years to come. Secondly, I think as companies, as real estate companies, we all need to get a little more efficient. Once we start automating a lot of task automation inside companies, I think we will end up releasing a lot of mental energy, a lot of mental muscle that will go in terms of how we look at our customers, how we engage with them. The last thing that I would like to talk about is how IoT, Internet of Things is something that we know some cities, larger properties, builders are proactively offering it as an offering to their customers. Now, what happens if once in the next 3-4 years, we know that I think in Bangalore, tech consumers or tech employees who go into collapsible, flexible work surroundings where they can put on their app and then control the amount of light, air, they can do hot desk booking, where they can go and purchase or use these services on a flexible basis. They will get used to the idea of expecting such services for their own houses, which means better air quality, knowing how their water is coming or when there's going. So these type of smaller ancillary services, or knowing if a basement common visitor parking is getting blocked, so on and so forth. I find these to be small but quality of life enhancing services. All of this can start becoming more and more viable once we start using IoT or Internet of Things in our real estate offerings. These are all points that we can communicate to our clients, our customers, our prospects. These are things that we can proactively talk about. These are things that will change the dimension of our sales and marketing channel in how they approach clients. So
thank you, Monica. Cyriac, your views on this, please.
Farook, I think, between my fellow panelists, they have covered most of the points. So I'm just going to quickly sort of run into a couple of points that I have on this, which would probably be a bit of an overlap, but nevertheless, right? One, we find that digital communication has now almost become the norm. We're looking for efficiency, we're looking for safety, we're looking for hygiene. These are of paramount importance. Now, with PropTech in particular making such rapid strides, especially in the last 2 to 3 years, both buyers and sellers of real estate are extremely well enabled to either disseminate or to access information or to even consult online. That is point number one. Point number two, I'm also increasingly seeing the use, again, a point that Monica covered, but nevertheless, seeing the use of online catalogs, videos, virtual tours of the property, online transactions, which is a point that we've already covered. Some of these parameters, these are some of the parameters that the real estate industry has already adopted using technology. What this does, to sort of really sum this up, what this really does, it makes the home buying, the home selling process a lot swifter, definitely more efficient, and extremely user-friendly. Farook?
Thank you, Cyriac. The next question I have is, what are the trends dominating social media and influencer marketing? Can I have Govind share his views on this, please?
Sure, Mr. Farook. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. So to begin with, I believe we got to understand right now we have a very big shift that is going on that we are witnessing into the real estate landscape. So we have 3 grades of the developers: one who are the pan-India developers, one who are grade A developers with the pan-India ambition, and then the developers with the local influence. So we are seeing amazing amount of action, and they are embracing the new possibilities that are going on social media as of now, and the way the content is evolving on the platform, and the 5 years back, the kind of content that we saw on these platforms vis-a-vis that was being projected by these brands vis-a-vis today, there's a huge change with regards to how they are communicating, and all of them are showcasing their vision, the product possibilities onto the social media elements, and trying to create a community there. The major shift, though, definitely is happening onto the influencer side, where unlike e-commerce, where the affiliate marketing is taking in a big shape, where the influencer are part of the transaction too. Real estate is yet to see that kind of a drastic shift. Though the influencer marketing is picking up, but because the affiliate marketing, in terms of the transaction, the way it is operating in e-commerce, cannot operate in real estate that often. Our usage of influencer marketing is very much limited to the awareness instead of taking it a little deep to the transaction side. So that is one place where we are excited about, and I believe that there will be a good amount of change and the shift that we'll be seeing, how content would be utilized with the help of the content creator economy that is getting developed as of now in all across India and globally, to use and to create better awareness for the product and the financial offerings and the overall promise of a particular brand, to create more and more transaction, and how it can be mapped back to these this content creators to create a new kind of a possibility where these content creators are being gratified for each and every transaction that happens. So there's a new domain that is going on that we really are bullish about, where the creator content economy will be picking up, and which will change the whole landscape, the way social media and influencer marketing is being operated into the real estate landscape currently.
Thank you, Govind. Can I have your views, Anirban, on this, please?
So I think, as rightly Govind said, it's very important. The trends are real estate developers are putting it across with the social media as well as the influencer marketing. But I still feel the ATL, BTL, or the print media still hold a very strong presence in today's market scenario, where I don't think so any big developer can't think of having a Times of India ad, a front jacket page ad today, having a launch, not having an ad. I think that's a very critical. Bangalore, unfortunately, don't have the ATL, BTL much available because of the current government rules. But I think it's a time will be takes some time to come totally into the digital or maybe a social media marketing. It will take some time. Talking with influencer marketing, I think in South we are still yet to experience the influencer marketing, like in real estate at least. I feel the brands like your beverage brand or maybe a tech brand, which influencer marketing will work very well, or maybe a the restaurant brand or something like that. But I think for real estate, it is it's a way forward. Maybe it will maybe about a decade or something. I feel it will take time to influencer marketing to work on this industry. And I feel that today's influencer marketing, maybe our existing customer who will be a brand ambassador, who can bring the brand, talk about the customer, about their experience. I think that may be the way forward in current scenario. That's my view.
Thank you, Anirban. The next question,
Farook,
which is...
If I may interrupt, can I add something to what Anirban said?
Yeah.
I think the wave may not have started, but well, it's starting. That's one way of putting it. A week ago, when I was looking at some content for the purpose of this discussion, this panel discussion today, I actually came across two posts on Instagram, which I must talk about. Anirban, I saw a young lady. She's a lifestyle influencer. So I won't name the developer, but it was paid content. She was sitting inside an apartment it's a demo flat. She was sitting there having her breakfast, looking very posh and proper. And she was really selling that lifestyle. And she did it there was obviously, she has her brand following. There was good music, the visuals were very good. So I thought that was a very good use of a demo flat being bought alive as opposed to a static newspaper ad. It came alive because she was doing all of these things and she had a signature wave. And there was another Instagram post, Farook, I've asked mentioned, this was the guy. So this is a lady influencer. Then there was a male influencer who is actually riding a bike. And, you know, it seems like a lot of his, when I just went through his Instagram feed, there was a lot of bike variety. And it starts off with him talking, she comes inside a parking lot of an apartment and says, you know, after my ride, I come back here, and he did that. And that was again in the form of, was it a story or a reel on Instagram? I can't remember. But again, it was paid content, it was sponsored content, and he had created this, you know, this data story to walk you. And the property was very visible. So I think we are at the start of that. We are going to see this in more and more in the months to come. I wanted to highlight that, Farook. That's
great. Thank you, Monica. I think that's a great point of view, actually. Yeah. I think I have not seen much, but it's a good start in the industry, getting the influencer marketing, which work in other industries. That will be really great, actually, if this comes in. It will be easy for sales and marketing professional us, for person like us who make the thing quite easy to reach to the PG level.
Right.
Thank you. The next question I have for you is the changing role of channel partners. How do you see that in the current context? And I'd like to ask Monica this question. We've spoken about... Yeah, go ahead, Monica.
Farook, sorry, I was unable to hear you. Could you repeat that, please?
Yeah, the changing role of channel partners. I think I'll go with Cyriac first.
Yes, Farook, thank you. Yeah, this is, I think, a good topic, something quite close to my heart. Now, I think over the years, and possibly more so in the last 4 to 5 years, I've actually seen channel partners who have adapted technology at the same pace, probably even faster than the developer community. Right? And I actually came across this very interesting piece of information fairly recently with a leading lead management and CRM software service provider. They're actually mentioning to me that they're getting far more inquiries and doing far many more implementations for channel partners than they are for any other community, including the developers. Number one. Two, I think goes without saying, and this is not a very recent phenomenon, but nevertheless to be mentioned, professionalism has become the buzzword, right? And we actually now find highly qualified resources from the top-notch institutions in India, like the IITs, the IIMs, even from top technology companies who have now opted to be a part of the CP business. And, you know, all of you will be aware on the panel and outside the panel, the audience, there are actually many instances now, more and more of sales of entire projects, and for that matter, entire developer sales being outsourced to large CP firms via a mandate or an exclusive model, as we call it. Right now, this is primarily because of the value add and probably the different perspectives that these channel partners are able to bring to the table. See, however, at the end of the day, even with the adoption of technology and professionalism and all these fancy sounding words, the developer has to be able to see sales traction that is both, you know, fast and sustainable. I think Arun Anand here will bear me out on that. Most instances I've actually seen, you know, where mandates have been taken up, or even on the retail side of the business, CPs for the most part have been able to perform. This actually makes it a win-win situation in many ways for the developer and obviously the channel partner. In fact, just as an aside, but very relatable to what I just said, there's this really large CP name, a CP firm, right? Who I shall not name. The head of business development of that particular firm is actually mentioning to me that, you know what, he sees his firm being amongst the top 5 real estate players in the Bangalore market, behind the 4 listed players. We all know who those are. Right? And this is something that he wants to achieve in the next 4 or 5 years. Now that seems to be the scale of operations and indeed, you know, the scale of ambition that is being targeted. Yeah, so I think the CP community has come an extremely long way, and I think interesting times ahead for both, you know, the developer community and the CP community, and indeed on the partnership side of it as well. Farook?
Thank you, Cyriac. I move the same question to Arun, his point of view on this, please.
Yeah, just thank you, Cyriac. Cyriac just preempted me on that in a beautiful way. But yeah, traditionally, I think connecting back with the previous question, the influencer marketing actually probably started with channel partners long ago, maybe about 30 years ago. how you remember an LIC agent. If you happen to sit next to an LIC agent on a bus, then by the time you get out at your stop, your LIC policy has been sold to you. I think real estate agents also traditionally started off like that. I think there is some uh, so probably like an LIC agent, the real estate agents also started like that. Today, I'd like to take the cue from Cyriac a little more. It is no longer seen as a channel partner. It is no longer about connecting the buyer and seller and influencing them. Today, it is all about value addition and specialization. I see a lot of channel partner firms coming. In fact, we also have a lot of plans around doing that. One is, as Cyriac rightly said, the exclusive mandate, where why developer should have a sales marketing team at all? Why Cyriac should have a job, why Anirban should have a job. So why can't it be outsourced to company like ours, Pro Realty, where we could take up the entire thing? That is one way of value addition. Second way of value addition is in largely seen in NCR, which lot of which we are also trying to do. How can you offer sales plus something? Can you underwrite some inventory of the developer, give some kind of a guarantee, and still help them sell? It's about giving a solution to the developer beyond sales and marketing, giving him little more peace of mind. There are a lot of players who are focusing only on specific areas like luxury real estate, luxury resale, luxury primary, people only who deal with 5 crore plus. They need to have a totally different set of skill sets, a totally different set of vision to ensure that luxury is there, is what they really solve. That is the problem that really solve. More than that, couple of items that I see, like again, some of the big players, they are what I call as power channel partners. They only come during the launch, sell 100 units, and they go. Then you see them only for the next launch. So there are different specialization coming across the channel partner industry. So it is becoming sales plus some kind of a value addition. Some people offer you quick momentum in 3 months. Some people like Flow Realty offer you sustainable long-term solutions. Some other people give you financial plus sales solution. You could be limited only with your own imagination, and that is where the channel partner is heading to. Another very important thing that will happen in the next 5 to 10 years is that, like insurance brokers used to be around earlier, today it is a website that is being the insurance broker. There are no people out there. So I won't be surprised tomorrow something called an e-channel partner. Like today we see e-DSAs in the home loan segment. Like that tomorrow there could be just e-channel partners. Go to exyz.com and log in with your developer ID. You will get leads, qualified leads, and all you have to do is update the system out there, and probably click and pay them. And that much of that depends upon how ethical the real estate guys themselves are, the developers themselves are. Today, the people offline part is very much required, because unless you show your face in a sales office, the developer will look at all possible avenues to cut you out. That's why the channel partners make themselves forcefully fitted out in all discussions, from site visit till there's a need for him to show his physical presence all the time. But if the developer community is also ethical by themselves, tomorrow the entire thing can become an eDSA, and you don't need a physical channel partner firm at all. So those are my 2 cents, over to the other experts.
Thank you, Arun. Very valid points there.
Farook, sorry, may I?
Sure.
Arun, I do need my job, and I do hope you guys are not going to fully take over. Let's get that balance going. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Among all this, I'm the guy you're cutting me out totally. But nevertheless, we'll survive there.
Cyriac, having people like you give us a lot of comfort, because if you are not there, we never know whether we'll get paid or not. So that is a very important factor, that you and Anirban should be there for decades.
Because I always feel you need that person on the ground to do that physical handshake, apart from all the digital and all the online. I was saving this for the last, but I'm tempted to say what you just said, Cyriac. Coming down to Anirban, what do you have to say on this?
So I think most of the point has been covered by Cyriac and Arun. I think very well said, Cyriac and Arun. So I should say we should not call them channel partners. We should call them business partners. Rather, I say business partners. today's market scenario, where I feel 60 to 70% business of real estate depend on the business partners like channel partners. And I feel the bar has gone up in last few years. If definitely digital marketing taken a big hit on their working style. I also feel that as I don't know, Arun is from my college senior. We are from the same institution, same engineering, NIT Tripti. So as Cyriac was mentioning, so like that, I have quite other batchmates, seniors, juniors, started business with the channel partner, the business partner business, and they're quite successful. And I see quite a lot of entrepreneur like the people are coming, they can put the big background as Cyriac was mentioning, IIT, IIM, and these people have taken the business as their primary business and they are working hard. And as people mentioned that, yes, the developers are feeling more comfortable giving the business, like talking about your mandate to them and working forward. And today's event, Cyriac was mentioning that the ERP, even I was talking to a lot of your places like 99 Acres or Magic Bricks. They are telling their 90% business come to channel partner, a 10% business come to developers. Their traffics for the channel partners are quite more than any developer. So that gives all the heads out that the business partners are going to be going ahead for the taking the business of real estate, and they are going to stay along with the real estate developers or real estate business. Thanks, Farook.
Thank you, Anirban. Very interested, very diverse discussion on this. I'll move to the next question. What are the latest trends in digital marketing and to ensure quality conversion at lower acquisition cost? I'll let Monica handle that first.
It's easy to take off on this answer, Farook, given that everybody, it's easy enough to admit that some of us as developers can be dinosaurs. I fully take the point that both Arun, Anirban, even you made about channel partners adding so much more value. Also with the integration of technology that I see most of you are doing way faster and you're being way more nimble than developers, broadly speaking. But in terms of, we try what we can. And I think one of the thumb rules broadly for developers so far, or I think it's a good metric for others to have also, is to spend about 20% of your time in generating a lead, and then 80% of that time nurturing that lead, which is basically converting that lead into a sale, right? So I will talk about it from a developer-centric perspective, because that's my background and where I come from. If there were some areas where I would today like to focus time, money, and energy, it would be on, we've done the normal, which is we have a website, we have remarketing techniques, and so on and so forth. I would like to spend a lot of my time now going forward trying to develop a more effective video marketing strategy. I feel that the world, both in terms of demographics and in terms of consumption of content, is moving towards video. We have younger consumers, that's only going to accelerate. Social media is taking us on a very clearly defined video path. So I think also given the nature of what we sell, it's such a visual, it's, once you have Google Maps tells you where it is, once you've seen those specs, you need to also want to see it visually. So I think creating an effective video marketing strategy or a video pathway for the company is something that I would like to spend time on. Secondly, I think it's important for developers to also independently start over-investing on content creation. I think when you work with multiple channel partners, you work with multiple other people who are also talking about your product, it becomes very important to make sure that all of us are talking the same path, all of us are talking the same language. And I think where a developer can help enable, assist our channel partners is by really creating content, which means that not only can you engage your subscribed leads, your leads, but it'll help your channel partners also nurture their own leads. So it's a win-win for all. And I think content creation will predominantly probably remain the role of a developer. So I think developers need to focus on that. The other thing that I've noticed, a lot of FMCG, a lot of other consumer durable companies do well in terms of the advertising that they send out, is to create very clear, specific audience personas. And as developers, we kind of struggle with that because we make 70 lakh flats. We also have 2 crore products. So how do you create? I think going forward, also because I spoke about video and content, I think it's important, and we haven't done this. is to look at creating target every project that you create. So if your project is about between 70 lakhs to a crore, then you need to, in your marketing cycle, you need to figure out who your audience, your target audience is, and create some audience personas through which you can communicate your content, through which you can channelize your video. So these are some ways that I think we could actually attract, we could convert the leads into sales. The last thing that I think
Thank you.
Yes.
Go ahead.
The last thing that I wanted to talk about is that, to customers who come on our website, the developer website, most of us are, we have chat boxes, we have quick, speedy responses. But I remember a customer actually telling me they were NRIs. I think the parents were talking to us and they lived in India. Can we start providing relevant insights? Can we give them an e-guide? Can we give them local guidance value updates? Most of us tend to be caught on the back foot. The customer comes and asks us and then we give it. Can we put that as part of the content? Every piece of content we have doesn't necessarily need to be influencer read, doesn't have to be also video. It can also be informational, right? It can be information which is useful to them. So I think once we start figuring out ways to create and channelize content as developers, it benefits the entire ecosystem, not just the developer, but all the multiple channel partners that we will work with going forward. That's my take, Farook.
Thank you. Thank you, Monica. Govind, your take on the same.
Yeah, so I will do one thing. I will set the benchmarking first. So the data, there are few that I'm going to talk about, is based on the team that has prepared for us. Last year we have clocked around 55 odd CR of budget that we ran through our systems over different for different clients like Hirandani or Kereheja, the portfolios that we handle. So now a few important pointers that I would love to put here. The first, that if anybody who's believing that the print is going to be having a future 5 years down the line, I believe they are living in oblivion, because even today, if you really want to push your 75% of the sales via digital, you are going to do that. So digital is not arriving; it has already arrived. You're late to the party if you are not really seeing the numbers yet. So let me put out few things based on whatever. So we map both the offline number and the online numbers as well because of the software that we have. And we have clocked close to around 12,000 odd, CR worth of inventory that got sold last year. That is what we have clocked. Around 45 to 50% of the budget there has gone to digital in the sustainable phase. Whenever the campaigns have gone into sustenance phase, 30% of the budget allocation has been put toward the digital phase, where I'm talking about it's mix of branding budget, which includes Amazon, OTT, and others as well, plus digital lead generation as well. Between Google and Facebook, they sit with around 75 to 80% of the market share in this particular space. The other 20% has been given between OTTs, where Z, Hotstar have been coming in, Amazon, in short, and even programmatic and native. Now, native and programmatic are fairly, two platforms where project about 2 CR budget, we have seen doing better. Project below 1 CR budget, I believe they're not the best tools yet, and there is still yet a lot to be proven. But the project which are 5 to 6 crore above, programmatic has started showing great results. Now, programmatic happens to be the future, which could be a great alternative to Google and Facebook. But yeah, the trends are very much there for the luxury market, but not for the overall market yet. Now, apart from that, one of the interesting things that Mr. Anirban had touched upon, I believe that you had mentioned that the portals where the 90% of they had mentioned the 90% is being driven by the brokers. So yeah, that's one thing that we have observed. For the developers that we are working with, what we have realized that it is the grade C developers from the Tier 1 cities, and typically the the developers from the Tier 2 cities and the brokers. These three combines are the ones who are actively going to the these platforms like 99 Acres, Magic Bricks, or Housing. And the bigger brands are going to these portals only when they want an incremental lead. So if the Facebook and Google are sufficing their need on the other platforms, they are not finding a very important reason to go to these platforms. And that's the reason which we can see that, all these platforms combined, 99 Acres, Magic Bricks, if you really look at it, their revenue from last 5 years have remained flat. They have not gone beyond 200 crore to 225 odd crore from the last 5 years. Now, that's a big challenge for them, but that's a discussion for some other time. And, we keep discussing with their team as well. But yeah, currently, these are the latest trends that we have observed, and that is what I wanted to put out to the panel.
Thank you. The next question I have, again, I think I'd ask Govind to share his views. Are real estate professionals yet to take their digital marketing to the next level?
Okay, so I already have 5 of you here. You guys are looking all keen. And to be very honest, yeah, there's a huge amount of tremendous, response that has been witnessed from the broker circle. Like, as Cyriac mentioned that, he connected with one of the players. I believe I know who the player is. And definitely that kind of traction even we are getting from the CP market is huge. Yes, the monetization remains an issue. The kind of monetization we can do on our SaaS platform from the developer, we cannot do the same with the brokers. But yeah, we are coming out with innovative model to monetize via them. So the professionals are definitely trying and to change, but there are few elements they are still, there's a gap. So there's a lot of awareness that has to be created, because when they are adopting to technologies, a lot of current real estate professionals are not able to grasp the fact, like, let's say the issue of the junk leads. The fact that, when you get 500 calls from a print ad, 250 would be a qualified lead. But in digital, out of 100, you will get 15 to 25, 20 to 25 qualified leads. Now, attending to those 80 junk leads, they make them jittery. So having that patience coming in, that communication to happen, and awareness talk to happen, I believe that's important. And the second most important part that we really felt, that would be my last point here, that somewhere all the professionals, one thing that we have not learned, I've interacted with, more than, 500 marketing professionals maybe, but the analytics, the data analytics part is something that, we are still very gut driven. We still remain to be, we have softwares which can map the ROIs, but we're still very gut driven. And a simple element like marketing attribution. A marketing attribution is not a typical conversation we are doing today. When the marketing attribution can really help you save, and your data will make you realize that a print and outdoor, these monies are just for the branding sake. The real ROIs are there. If you just believe and push your numbers a little harder on the digital side, you can get, a 100 unit or a 500 unit, you will be able to sell if you spend right and you are able to see your ROI and map the attribution channels in the right manner. Now, attribution channel is a very important parameter, because with Facebook and Google, there are new tools that started giving to us, which was available to only for e-commerce before, which is called conversion APIs. Because of that, what happens every time a lead is qualifying, even they get a feedback loop. Because of that, they can market the leads better. Now, these are new trends and technologies which are coming in. For that, we need a lot of awareness and these kind of forums to converse. And I'm pretty sure they are definitely ready. Have they arrived yet? Yes. My answer would be we are just at the 10% of. We're just scratching the surface in this space. There's a lot to be learned, a lot to happen, and we have to just remain positive and give our best.
Thank you, Govind. Another question I'd like to ask you, which is pertaining to this itself, is how do you ensure that the human element in the digital world is present? As I mentioned to you, the human handshake at the end of the day, but I'd like to hear it from your perspective of how you see that coming.
Yeah, so as a team, when you're working towards a tech or digital, there are two kind of transactions we see: the boring transaction and the exciting transaction. So I believe you're working on the boring transactions, which have human interface where we can automate it, so that a lot of people do not get simple. A lot of things are there where you do not want to really engage; you just want to get an answer. And if with the help of AI and machine learning we can achieve it, we're working there. And then there is exciting transaction. So the human elements has to be there. Like, with the help of IoT, with the help of automation, we can have the whole home tour automated. But do we really need to do that right now? I believe the customer still wants to have that connect where any question they want to ask, they want to feel secure. They know that, the answers can be done. So the home tour, the customer visiting the site, the transaction, the final closing, that will remain, as human as they could be. Of course, as Mr. Cyriac also mentioned that, there's a lot of professionalism coming in. The brokers are getting better with time. So the experiences are only going to get better. But as I said, as a technology guys, we are working towards those areas where, the human elements can be eradicated and the boring transaction. Developers do not want to put money onto it, and customers also do not want to have too much of back and forth on it. So those boring transactions are where, we are really working hard, which could be the price inquiry, which could be the inventory, we're checking the inventory at any given point of time, making them lively, available instead of, continuously walking down a sales team that, what is the status of my inventory, or, the demand draft, you need to tell them that, the payment cycles have come. Now, these are few boring transactions that can be automated, and this is where, we can do a wonderful job with, with the help of automation. So yeah, that's a fine balance where the human part, let's make it more exciting. The boring part, let's automate it.
On a lighter note, Govind, I don't think any developer knows how many unsold inventory he has got exactly to the T. Okay, they say approximately 90 to 100 is available. so good luck to you in trying to automate that.
Absolutely, we're chasing a utopian world, but let's hope it comes sooner.
I think we seem to be running out of time. We just have about 4 minutes or so, 5 minutes left. So I'm going to make this my last question, and I would like to say, what are the reasons developers are now focusing on brand awareness, and what's the right way to do it? I'll start off with you, Cyriac, first.
Yeah, I'll take about a little over a minute. So real estate as a category, right, is one where there's a lot of sensorial appeal. There are a lot of emotions, a lot of trust that is involved. Now, the fundamental aspect of building trust, of appealing to emotions, of offering a superlative experience will continue to be relevant. And in fact, probably it's even more important at this point of time. I'm actually not very sure if there's any one definitive way in which this can be done. I have a couple of perspectives on this, though. See, on the one hand, it can be about delivering a signature experience that best resonates with your brand. This could be on the pre-sale side of it, in terms of the first port of call. It could be on the sales side of it. It could be the handover side of it, so on and so forth. On the other, I believe that in today's context and into the very foreseeable future, there is really no better way to build consciousness, to elevate a real estate brand to the next level than by delivering your projects on time. Right. In this context, I have to mention my organization, Vaishnavi. Last few years, I think several projects delivered ahead of schedule. And for me, this has been a learning and eye-opener like no other, because I can very emphatically state here that this has elevated the brand several notches above, like nothing else could possibly have. Right? Nothing could have made us achieve the level of brand elevation as project delivery on or ahead of schedule would have done. So in a sense, for me, as a veteran in this industry for a fairly long time, it's a back to basics approach that really seems to work best. And as I always like to say, as far as the basics are concerned, in marketing, the more things change, the more it remains the same. Farook?
Thank you, Cyriac. I'd like to ask Anirban his perspective on this. Anirban, your point of view on this, please.
I think Cyriac rightly said, I am been for a company which is about legacy of 153 years across the world, 60 countries. So when I joined this company close to about 5 years back, I understand the emotion for a brand and how does it really drive. As rightly said, Cyriac, it's customers who started looking at the brand maybe post demonetization and the era, where a lot of developers started suffering with delays. A lot of developers have stopped their projects, and the customer being very cautious now. So they started understanding, for me to invest their hard-earned money into project, will the project be delivered? Will the deliver quality work? So that's something that comes to the mind of a buyer, and a brand awareness or a company reputation always walk forward to answer those questions. And for developer like us, as a Shapoorji, when I work with them, so I feel that makes a lot of sense for a buyer to choose the right decision for a right product. So that makes quite easy for a person to choose a decision. We've been an entry to the South India first time at the Shapoorji as a brand. It not took us much time to call the brand recall. Maybe not the real estate side, maybe to the other side. We have a brand like Eureka Forbes, or maybe Afcon or Shapoorji Quality Construction, or we have done a lot of work in South India that connected with the buyers, and they understood what Shapoorji is. And that was the right example for me to tell that why the developers need to focus on the brand building, or the right way they can take it forward, going forward in the future. Thank you, Bharat.
Thank you, Anirban. I think that was quite interesting. I'd like to ask Arun, your perspective on this, please.
Yeah, I would not take much time, but quickly to add, a brand is all about giving a promise to the customer. And, and in today's world, especially in real estate, everything is commodity. Today, even design is commodity. Somebody brings a very good design tomorrow, you can just copy it. Somebody brings a good landscape concept tomorrow, anybody can just replicate it. Within a matter of 3 months, the next project can see it. So it's a highly, at the end of the day, what you're selling is a location plus a commodity. The PMC is the same. The contractors are the same 5, 6 people who deliver. The architects are the same 5, 6 people who design a particular project. So it's pretty much the commodity coming in. So what differentiates a brand is, what do you want to give the customer? For example, if somebody is saying that I'm going to give most value for money homes, and if somebody else is saying I'm going to give the most luxurious of homes, somebody is going to say that I'm going to give the most technology friendly with IoT and things like that. So each developer has to take the space that he wants to, he create a space that he wants to operate in and create a product which is very meaningful in that particular segment. Just like Volvo stands for safety, Mercedes stands for luxury, or any other brand stands for what they want to offer. So finally, it's a consumer product. You need to have a very unique value proposition that you offer, and unless you particularly specialize on that value proposition, you will just become one of the clutter, and the chances are that you will largely get missed out. So that is where the developers should move on from now on.
Thank you, Arun. I'm going to wrap the session with the lady we started first, and we'll let her have the last word. Monica, your take on this.
You always do.
Farook, thank you. I'm reminded of that old African proverb, the slowest gazelle every morning has to decide that it has to outrun the fastest lion, or, end of the day, it's finished. I sometimes feel like that about us as developers. Arun is right. In a market where there's more and more commoditization, how do the deer survive? How do smaller developers survive? It will have to be through brand awareness. There's one thing that I would like to just very quickly put out. I know that there was some new research data from that new research agency, which has identified the new middle class as people who have an annual average saving of about 20 lakhs per annum. This is average savings post-consumption, yeah? And the total number of such cumulative households in India as of 2020 early is pegged at about 6,33,000 households. Now, we could do the math, we could work it backwards, say how many of them already have houses and so on. But however we cut this data or this particular number, it just means that there are so many households today where their average savings should only increase. B, these are affluent households, which will have two things happening. They will have pressure, a huge upward pressure on their time and energy, which means they will be people who will have less time to spare. And there will also be people whose energy or whose attention will be claimed by any number of marketers and any number of verticals, which means that while they're looking for a house, a subset of their attention we can only claim that much of their attention. Unlike about 3-4 decades ago, where buying a house was an all-consuming event in somebody's life. Today, it will be a very high-quality purchase decision. But however, it will compete with many differing claims for their attention. Look at these households where they're able to save that much. If they keep this up and don't have any emergencies in 5 years, they have a surplus basket of 1 crore available. This is the target market that we're talking to. We cannot compete for their attention. We cannot compete for their time and eventually their purchasing money if we don't have a very clear brand concept in place, no matter how
Thank
big.
you.
Yeah.
Monica,
Yeah.
we are running short of time, and I think Sapna is, we see her in here. I'll wrap this session up in 30 seconds. And I think we've had a wonderful, diverse talk, different points of view from different speakers here, all saying the same thing. And I'll wrap this up in about 1 minute max. Cyriac spoke about channel partners, fast adoption, professionalism is the buzzword, sales traction, fast, interesting movements. He talked about compact and affordable housing, spacious online homes, so digital communicational, prop tech, and swift sales. This is what his take was. The last thing he mentioned was emotion, trust, and timely delivery, which is a very, very important factor to this. Govind spoke about digital has arrived, and those of you who have missed the bus better join in fast. I'm one of those lacking behind this, and I think I'm going to get in touch with you on this, Govind. Very interesting perspective, I must say. He gave statistics on 45% budget on digital and 30% statistics on Google, Facebook, broker sales higher, and then grasping technology, lead management. These were a few of the buzzwords that he spoke about. And he also spoke about local influencers, national marketing policies, boring transactions, and interesting. That was a new one to me. I've never heard of boring and interesting transactions. For me, all transactions are the same. because at the end of the day, the till rings, and that's what makes it interesting, even if it's boring. So very, very new perspective of looking at transaction. Then very important point again raised by Govind was artificial intelligence and automation. This is a part of life that we have to adapt, or we're going to get left back. Anirban had points of view on Times of India marketing, as he mentioned specifically. That's why I'm repeating this word, vis-a-vis digital, which I think his reply from which Govind gave him was very, very apt. He also spoke about property, real estate, timely construction, gated communities, ready to move in being the buzzword of today. Then he also talked about channel partners, call them business partners. He spoke about entrepreneurs, mandates, and ERP, and 90% sales with channel partners, and timely delivery, and ethical standards. This is very, very important. We all forget at the end of the day, ethics plays a very, very important part. And these ethics are self-imposed. I mean, nobody can force it down us. We have to impose them upon ourselves, because this is what makes the difference between good business and just doing business. So Arun spoke about innovation, and he also spoke on new tools, WhatsApp, online purchase, video usage, booking apps. A lot of others also spoke about it, but I'm just highlighting a few of the points here. Engaging with the customer, apps are the way to move forward. Specifically, WhatsApp was what he was talking about. Value addition, exclusive mandates, luxury sales, different specialization, and long-term solutions is the way out. And I think if last again, I wind up with Monica. Monica spoke about new tools and video usage again, and also about the 2080 lead generation, video marketing, helping channel partners, and then the prices and content. I think I've got a lot more to cover, but I think we have overshot our time. And thank you, panelists, for giving us such a varied session on this. Real estate is not just about selling homes and doing transactions. I think it's a new generation of buyers who've come in here. And I'm talking from the broker, the realtor perspective. It's the new age broker and the new age generation that's here. And either we go digital, bearing the human ethical values, or we're going to be ancient fossils, dinosaurs out, prehistoric. So
that's right,
I think
I think you summed up very well. Yes, we have to move with times, and the pandemic has taught us change is inevitable, and we have to start living with uncertainties. Thank you very much for that very interesting dialogue, and for answering some very valid questions that the entire panel took up. So thank you so much, everyone. Monica, for being here with us. Mr. Farook, Mahmood, for your wonderful moderation. Anirban, for being here with us. Mr. Arun, Anand, and Cyriac, and Govind. As always, a pleasure to have you here on the panel, and knowing your views and opinions. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.